Alright, what is up guys, it is Storm back here with another video, and in this one I'm bringing you something a bit different. It's an anime story that I wrote, and it's kind of a horror story, but maybe you're just gonna have to listen for yourself and decide what you think of it. But before we begin, if you like the content you're seeing, be sure to subscribe, like, and comment. I mean, they're all free, so why not? If you want some dope channel merch, the link to that will be down in the description below. If you want to see more of me, then just go check out my other channels, and also go follow me on Twitter and Instagram, which will all be linked down below. But without further ado, why don't we just dive right on in. I'm being chased. Chased by what others call a Yandere. If you don't know what a Yandere is, you're lucky. It's pretty much a person, more common than not females, who are obsessed with someone and will stop at nothing to be with them. That means they will cross whatever lines they have to in order to achieve their goal. And I've experienced this firsthand. It all started last year. I had just entered in my junior year of high school, and I was looking forward to it as I hadn't seen my friends over the summer. To get to the point, I go there my first day, and as I'm walking into my last class, I see this girl. I stop for a second to gaze at her, and she is gorgeous. Blonde hair, blue eyes. My type exactly. I take my seat at a few desks behind her, and as the class goes along and the teacher introduces himself and goes through what the class is about, I can't help but to look at her. I realize that if someone were looking at me the way I was looking at her, then I'd be a little creeped out. But it was at that moment, everything changed. She looked back at me, which caught me off guard. And that's when she smiled at me, and after she turned back to look at the teacher, I thought this couldn't be real. Could she have actually been into me? After class ended, I stayed behind a little to see if I could follow and catch her in the halls. Once I saw her leave, I followed her into the halls, but I lost her in the large crowd of students. I tried looking around, but I couldn't find her, and I cursed my luck. That's when I noticed the halls were empty, and I had missed my bus, and once again, I cursed my luck. All of a sudden, I feel a tap on my shoulder, and as I turn around, there she is. I'm in awe at how beautiful she actually is. As I'm standing there like an idiot, unable to utter a word, she says, "Hi, my name is Rosalina. What's yours?" Standing there like a dumbass for a few more seconds, I answer saying, my name's Michael." She responded with, "Well, it's nice to meet you, Michael." That's when she came close to my ear, and while I'm still in complete awe, that's when she whispers, "You know, I saw you staring at me back there. I feel violated in a way, but I like that, and I think I might like you." After she spoke those words, she smiled and then walked off. After she left, I stood there, not knowing what to think. I didn't know if I should have been happy or nervous, but I knew that I was excited. That night, as I was laying in bed, I couldn't stop thinking about her. Her name, her beauty, her voice, it just resonated with me. That's when I got a notification on my phone from a number I didn't recognize. I looked at it, and to my surprise, it was actually Rosalina. After that first text, everything spiraled out of control. Many texts were sent back and forth that night, and it's a night I vividly remember. If I hadn't responded to that text, things might have ended differently. Over the course of the next few weeks, though, Rosalina and I grew closer and closer, and we learned everything we could about each other. Our likes, our dislikes, what we had in common, and just about everything that you could talk about, we talked about. That's when I asked her out, and she actually said yes. As the next few months rolled by, those were some of the happiest times of my life. During those few months, I thought that she might actually be the one. I spent every waking hour I could with her, and that's when I realized that I had been distancing myself from everyone and everything. My friends, even my own family, and the things I had loved doing before I met her. I barely did them anymore. I had the most minimal conversations with my parents and my older brother. I didn't even give a second thought. Rosalina had turned into the only thing in my life that was a constant. After that epiphany, I began to stop spending as much time with Rosalina, and I started spending more time with my friends and family. One night, however, as I was about to go to sleep, I got a text saying, "Don't you dare ignore me," in all caps. I didn't want to deal with this, so I just ignored it and went to sleep. When I woke up the next morning, I looked at my phone and saw that I had hundreds, no, thousands of texts in the span of one night, all from Rosalina, entailing the same thing of "don't ignore me." I didn't want to, but I had no choice, so I blocked her number. At school later that day, I avoided her the best I could, but in our last class together, I was staring off into space, and I ended up looking at her for a second, and she was looking back. The look on her face I saw was one I'll never forget. It was a twisted kind of smile, angry yet happy, but it freaked me out beyond belief. With that, I knew it was time to end things. I didn't want to, but after that, look, it was for the best. After class ended, I went up to Rosalina and told her that it was time to end things, and she surprisingly took it well, much better than I thought she would. The next couple of weeks passed and life went back to normal, and I started to move on from Rosalina. That was until one night I woke up and I saw a figure looking over my bed. I was about to scream until they covered their hand over my mouth and told me to be quiet. That was when I saw that it was Rosalina. I was about to say something when I felt a needle enter my arm and I became very sleepy. As I dozed off, she began to kiss me and say, "Shh, sleep now." After that, everything went black. Eventually, I came to and I started to look around, and I was in some kind of warehouse. I tried moving, but I was chained to a chair and I couldn't move. I tried screaming for help, and that was when Rosalina walked in. At first, I thanked God, but that was when I remembered she was the one who did this to me. I was speechless, but I managed to get out the words, "Rosalina, let me go, please." She responded saying, "Let you go? I can never let you go." She kept me there for months. I tried screaming for help, but eventually I gave up entirely. She did unspeakable things to me, things that I don't want to remember, but while stuck there, I began to see that she was right. We were never meant to be separated from one another. What was I thinking when I broke up with her? I told her this and she was ecstatic. She said that we would be in this place forever, and I didn't mind. That was when everything was ruined. The cops showed up along with my family, and I was saved when I didn't need to be saved. The fools! I tried telling them, but none of them listened. I watched on as they arrested Rosalina and took her away. I was taken to the hospital, and over time I was told I was suffering from what they call Stockholm Syndrome. I laughed it off, saying they were wrong, and that I was fine. I asked where Rosalina was, and no one told me anything. More time passed, and I discovered that she was institutionalized at a mental hospital. They told me things would go back to normal, but they never did. Everything was just off. Everything except for her. I realized what I had to do. I went to see her, and every time I visited, I felt joy that I'd never felt before. That was until everyone found out I was visiting. Everyone at school, my friends, my family. They all looked at me like I was insane. Maybe I was, but I didn't care. They tried to stop me, but I pushed all of them away. And that's when I broke her out of the mental hospital. As we were running, we looked into each other's eyes, and I realized she was my everything, and I was her everything, and that we loved each other. We escaped and left town, and now we're on the run, but we don't care, because we're together. I couldn't give a rat's ass about anyone or anything in my previous life. She and I are gonna start a new life. I am being chased by Yandere, but I'm on the chase with her, and it's one that will never give up, no matter who or what gets in our way.